come to Israel.
בקרוב תזרח השמש, נדע ימים יפים מאלה, הלב נלחם בדאגות. כולם יחזרו הביתה, נחכה להם למטה, הלוואי נדע בשורות טובות.
Why won't you make Aliyah to the state of Israel?
A political priority for the system.
And I call on young Jews from the world over, come to Israel, make Aliyah, come stay in Israel, come make Aliyah to Israel. This is your land. Your home, back home.
A religious belief for the Zionists, Israel, home of all Jews in the world.
But it's 100% guaranteed that the Jewish people all will move to Israel. That is the promise of our prophets through the ages.
Israeli citizenship, the right of birth for every Jewish individual.
Israel is your birthright.
With all the facilities available, why do most of the 15 million Jews of the world prefer not to come to Israel?
The biggest Jewish community outside Israel, majority of these people are not interested to come to Israel.
Israel's population in 2023, 9,727,000 people, out of which 7 million are Jewish. Since the establishment of the Israeli government, until 2023, some 3.3 million Jewish immigrants have arrived in Israel. Half of Israel's population are the children of these immigrants.
Of the Zionist project was based on Jewish immigration into the ancestral homeland, into Palestine.
Immigration of Jews is the backbone of the Zionism project. However, from the onset, with the migration of Jews, Israel was faced with a fundamental issue. If Judaism is a religion, how does it provide the basis for the creation of a national government? Having Jewish identity in Israel, a prerequisite for national identity. Nowhere in the world is religious identity considered equal to national identity.
We defined ourselves as a Jewish nation state. That means our identity, civic identity, is national, but definition who is a Jew is religious. This is an internal built-in conflict.
Such a conflict places a fundamental question before the people of Israel. Is Israel a national government or a Jewish one?
How do you remain both a liberal democracy and a Jewish state?
The most outstanding development resulted from such a paradox took place in 2023. Israel's open wound began to show itself in the biggest protests in its history.
Biggest protests Israel has ever seen.
The voice of the majority.
Strong majority of most Israelis is to doom the protest movement.
9 months of protests against the government's judicial reforms.
Protest the government's plan to radically reform the nation's judicial system.
The movement had more important things to say, such as the sharp rise in commodity prices.
Listed Israel in first place for the highest cost of living last year.
The life here in Israel is so hard for young people. It's so expensive. The rent, the housing, the supermarket, the food, everything is so expensive.
Organized corruption.
Corruption by threatening Israel's democratic roots.
Anger over Israel's international image made by its government. Racism.
There are racists within the Netanyahu government.
Apartheid.
Modern-day apartheid been inflicted by the Israeli state today.
occupation.
I'm a Jewish, I'm in Israel, but I'm not proud in my God because we are lead and occupied a Palestinian in Europe.
Inhalation of democracy and moving towards dictatorship.
Putting us towards a state where a dictatorship is possible.
To the Zionists, security is the biggest priority.
I don't think I can still live here. I don't feel safe in my home.
76% of Israelis, that's 3 out of 4 people, say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should resign, blaming him for the security failures.
A mountain of crises.
Huge damage to our economy, huge damage to our security, huge damage to the very cohesion of Israeli system.
And the fear of the collapse.
We could see a collapse.
Israel is a house already ruined.
אבל אם ישראלים רבים כל כך מרגישים גולים בתוך ארצם, ברור שמשהו הולך ומשתבש. ישראל כפי שהיא היום חדלה להיות להם בית.
And within these ruins, the first thought which crosses the mind of every Jewish person would be to emigrate. 1 out of 3 Israelis think of emigrating.
1 in 3 Israelis were thinking of emigrating.
1 in 3 Israelis is thinking of leaving the country.
Immigration, the founding core of Israel's establishment. With the current situation, it would be quite natural that immigration in long term would lead Zionism towards a chaos.
Due to the practical and ideological significance of immigration for Zionism, emigration, the movement in the opposite direction, was understood as a threat to the success of the Zionist project.
After an increasing trend in emigration of its Israelis, Tel Aviv has not provided any clear figure of its latest domestic security challenge.
Most of the demand is for immigration from Israel.
And 70% of all planned departures from Israel.
A title in Haaretz offered the clearest definition of the current circumstance: escaping from Israel.
I will not raise my kids in a country which is not democratic.
We, as young people, cannot live here anymore.
We will find a place to live outside Israel.